Okie dokie. In the last video we left off here, and I was going to show you kind of how to apply some of these properties to sequences of steps that show how we simplify things. So this example is from our resource and kind of shows sort of what they're looking for. So it starts out with this thing right here, right? This, sorry, that's a little too underlined. Starts out with this thing here, and you have to take it and you got to break it down and simplify it. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it, some slightly different orders. But the way they did it is they started with this 4 minus 3 bit right here, right? And they went from that to this. So what they did is, and all of these, they're doing one thing at a time. Okay, they're only doing one thing. So they did 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is substitution. That's the only thing you can call it because it's not a special property. 4 minus 3 equals 1. And so they wrote substitution and wrote what they did, right? So that's why they wrote this. And then the next step, right, and we'll use a different color, they went from this and they said, okay, well, we're going to take this and simplify it to that. So that's what they call multiplicative identity, right? And you can call it mult ID or whatever if you do it. 7 times 1 equals 7. And then you go from there. And the next step would be dealing with this guy right here with this 5 times 1/5, and it turns into 1. And then that would be your multiplicative inverse, right? So you kind of see how you're locating in the one above it sort of what you got to do. And then the one below it, you've got the simplified version of it, and then you list what you did. All right. And then this next one, they took 7 minus 1 and they turned it into 6. So that was substitution. And then they did 6 plus 1, which was its own thing, right? And that became that. And then that's how you wound up with your answer. So we're going to ask you to do sort of the same thing. So let's just try one together. All right, try a couple together. All right, so for this one right here, we've got 2 times 3 plus 4 times 2 minus 8. Now I know from order of operations that I got to work in the parentheses first, right? So that's what they did. They said, well, we're going to do this first. And so what happened when they did 4 times 2? Well, it was substitution, right? So substitution. And you can write sub if you want. And then you just write 4 times 2 equals 8. Write down what you did. And then the next one, they dealt with this 8 minus 8. And now try to remember what that particular property is called when you add something to its opposite and you get 0, right? And that's kind of what 8 minus 8 is it's the same as 8 plus negative 8. So that would be called additive inverse. All right. I'm going to look and see if when they did other things, yeah, they always write down what it is. All right, and then you do 8 minus 8 equals 0. And then the next one, they take 2 times 3 and they turn it into 6. So that's just substitution again. So we'll go subst, and we'll say 2 times 3 equals 6. And then when you have 6 plus 0, that is additive identity, right? Additive ident. And we say 6 plus 0 equals 6. And that's really all they're looking for. It's not super complicated. In some of these, they want you to actually solve it yourself and do that. So we're going to do one like that too, all right? We're going to evaluate it, and we're going to do it step by step. So the first thing we should do is we should deal with this 3 times 2. So we're going to go 2 times, and then you got to write it all out. 6 minus 5 plus 3 times 1/3. We're going to call that substitution, and we're going to write down what we did. We did 3 times 2 equals 6. All right, next thing we should do is we should do this. All right, so that will be 2 times 1 plus 3 times 1/3. So that also would be substitution. And that's 6 minus 5 equals 1. Now, we should kind of go left to right. and do one thing at a time. Do multiplication because we're doing PEMDAS, right? So we did our parentheses. There's no exponents. So let's do multiplication and division now. So we're going to do multiplication left to right. So let's do 2 times 1 is equal to 2. And that is plus 3 times 1/3. And that is the multiplicative, think about it, identity, right? Multiplicative identity, all right? Where anything times 1 equals itself. Okay, and then let's deal with this now, right? So we have 2 plus 1, because 3 times 1/3 is 1, and that's called multiplicative inverse, right? The reciprocal one. So 3 times 1/3 equals 1. And then 2 plus 1 is 3, and you would just say subst 2 plus 1 equals 3. And you did it. All right, so that's kind of what they're looking for this. I don't even know if there's problems in ALEKS on this, but you should kind of know about this, and I want everybody to at least do a couple problems of this because I think it's very good for, like I said earlier, getting you to think sequentially and thinking about steps and how does it work when we're solving the or simplifying these expressions. All right, thanks. Next video coming up.